Yeah, so I will be presenting this Liveability solution, and this is joint work with Stefan and Marcel. What we are trying to do in this project, so we have looked at urban multimedia data that is available to us open source, and not only in Amsterdam, but in different score cities. And we're employing computer vision and multimedia analysis to gain more insight into livability and common urban objects. And with the solution, we try to answer questions such as, like, what is the state of assets in the public spaces, and how does, for instance, the visual appearance of urban objects such as buildings, how does that influence the livability in an urban area? And to this end, we have created two new data sets and baseline urban object detectors. So we really started from the base that we have panoramic images in the city from street level, but we also have a lot of information on common urban objects that are there in the street scenes. And we've combined, basically, we developed a methods to combine these different types of data. And to create an automatic labeling for our panoramic images, from which we could start to do classification, so recognizing which objects are visible in a scene, and doing detection, which is localizing those objects, so where exactly is, for instance, a building in a scene. So it was really our start. And also within this framework, because we needed a subset of the images to be correctly labeled for evaluation purposes. So we also did a really large-scale crowdsourcing of like more than 200 workers around the world, which helped us in cleaning up this a subset of this data. And so we have, well, which you see in the top images that are really correctly labeled. And the interesting parts are, or how this is also novel, this data set, is this large-scale automatic annotation. First of all, we've been able to do this on a really massive scale for the whole of Amsterdam. And also, because we extract information from GIS, we've also been able to link these boxes to very interesting features, for instance, for buildings, that especially once we start looking at analyzing livability in an area, becomes very interesting. So we have, for instance, architectural information, such as the building age, but we have also other things related to livability. So the house value, how many of its social housing, how much social housing is in a building, the average surface area of a living unit within a building. And this is basically kind of where we stand now in the project. So we are really looking like, how can we now use this data to also do localization or detection of those common objects in a scene, but starting to connect it to livability. So can we find, for instance, certain aspects of how a building looks, how that contributes to the livability in an area. And that's kind of what we are trying to explore at the moment. So who is already using it, and what are the expected benefits? So we already work closely with the municipality of Amsterdam, and they have different use cases for which they are interested in this data and using these tools, these AI tools to explore the data. So there's asset registration and management. Right now, somebody has to go to the scene, say, okay, this lamppost is on this location. And so it's very manual labor and very expensive. So if you can try to automate that, or use automatic tools together with human inputs, yeah, can you make this process smoother? Also, another use case is detecting issues in the public space, and it can also be interesting in the context of urban planning. We've already had a couple of students working with this data, so I've myself supervised two master students. One project was on streetlight detection in these images, and the other one was really segmenting in the image where bike lanes were present. And then Stefan is also supervising a project right now, and it's using computer vision techniques to monitor the road surface condition. We will share, so we have a paper now that's in peer review, and we will share the data sets and codes with the broader computer vision and multimedia community. And yeah, like I said, they're highly relevant for different research purposes, such as we had some collaboration with people in Dublin about, for instance, studying or looking at footpath accessibility. And my contact, yeah, so you can reach out to me if you would like to know more. And we are also setting up a website for sharing all this data, the code and the know-how. So once that's ready, I will also share it on the SCORP community.